All right, so we've talked about events quite a bit, and we know how to add an event listener onto a single element, but what about when there's multiple elements? And a good example is for these list items. If you want to delete these, we have multiple delete buttons where we would want to add an event listener to. Now, there's a few ways we can do this. We could basically select all of the LI tags or all of the buttons, whatever it is we want to click on, and then add an event listener for every single one, which isn't really efficient. So this is where event delegation comes into play, which is a powerful event handling pattern. So I'm going to show you the first way, which is to basically just add an event listener onto every one. So let's do that by selecting the list items. And we're going to say document. We want to use query selector all because we're selecting all of the LI tags. All right, and then what we can do is we can list through or loop through the list items and say for each item. And then just to show you, if I console log here, we're actually going to want to, well, no, let's add the list. Let's add the event listener first. So I'll say for each item, let's add an event listener for click, and then we'll have our function here. And I'm going to just console log e.target. So if I click on these, you'll see it'll give me whatever list item I'm clicking on. So now I can take that target and I can remove whatever that element is, whatever I'm clicking on. So I could say e.target.remove, and we learned about the remove method a couple sections back. So now if I click on, let's say orange juice, goes away, click on milk, Oreos, apples, and of course this is just in the DOM. It's just in our browser. If I reload, that all comes back. That's because we're not persisting the data or persisting those actions to any database or anything like that. All right, now, as I said, this isn't really efficient, especially if you have a ton of elements that you're putting a listener on. Instead, we can use event delegation to basically add just a single event listener onto the parent and then target whichever one we want to delete. So let me just show you what that looks like. So we're going to select the parent, which is the UL. So let's say document.query selector, and we're going to select the UL. And I'm just going to comment this out for now. And we want to put the event listener on the parent. So list.add event listener and listen for a click, and then we'll have a function. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and just console log here, and then I want to log e.target. So I'm going to come in here and click, and notice it's still giving me the list item, right? I have the event listener on the UL, so even if I click like right here, then it gives me the UL if I'm not clicking on the list item. So what I can do is just target the list item that I'm clicking on, this e.target. And remember, target is going to give you what you click on. Current target is going to give you what the event listener is on. So if I do current, if we say e.current target and I click on the list item, it's still going to give me the UL. So you want to make sure that you're dealing with target. And what we can do is just test and say if e.target.tag name or class or whatever it is that you want to check, if that is equal to, in this case, li, then we can just take that e.target, which is what we click on, and we can remove it from the DOM. So now if I click on any one of these, it just deletes them. And now instead of adding multiple event listeners, I'm just simply adding one, and then I'm testing whatever it is I'm clicking on and then deleting that. And of course, you're not limited to just deleting. If I wanted to, let's say instead of a click, we do a mouse over. And again, we just want to check to make sure it's a list item. And then instead of removing it, let's change the style dot color, and we'll set that to red. So now if I come over here and I hover over a list item, You see it'll change the ones that I hover over to red. All right, so that's how you want to handle adding an event listener onto multiple elements, is using event delegation. Now in this case, we just use the list item, so if I click anywhere it deletes. When we actually build our project, which is very soon, we're going to have to target the button, which is going to be a little bit more difficult because we have to kind of navigate to the child, to the button, and then there's an icon in the button. So it'll be a little more difficult, but it'll be fun, and you'll learn quite a bit going through this project. In the next video, though, I want to talk a little bit about some of the events that we can use on the window and about just the window object in general.